Turn now to the controversy over building mosques in this country. You have seen the story pop up out of New York. A lot of emotional testimony we saw last week at the meeting they had about the proposed mosque that was being proposed to be built near Ground Zero. Take a listen.
And all you people here yelling at me don't even know. And maybe if a mosque were built, then you guys would know what Islam was about.
Have we forgotten what happened at 9/11?
Now, opponents of the mosque, they're asking, why does it have to be built so close to the 9/11 site? Still, supporters say this is a matter of religious freedom.
To celebrate that murder of 3,000 Americans.
Well, this is actually a television ad you're seeing there that's opposing the mosque. That is certainly stirring up some controversy. The ad itself, yes, but also because both CBS and NBC have refused to air it. It doesn't make necessarily a distinction between Islam and terrorism in that particular ad. Meanwhile, the debate has surfaced as well in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a mosque and Islamic center planned there. As Rodney Dunnigan has a story for us in our Faces to Face. The people are not rolling out the welcome mat.
The debate rages on in Murfreesboro over a new Islamic mosque. Wednesday, opponents marched through the streets of the city in protest. The simmering controversy came to a boil in May when the county's planning commission approved the plan.
Do you forget 9/11 so fast? It seems like the American people do.
Those here say the commission acted too quickly in allowing the plan to be approved.
This mosque that they're trying to build, all it is a training center. It has other things too. That's the veneer. That's just to get people to look the other way. Once they get established, they're going to have all kinds of people come in. In Islam, a mosque means we have conquered this country. And where are they? The center of Tennessee. They're going to say, we have conquered Tennessee.
From the mountains.
The protesters began their march at Central Middle School on East Main and made their way through town to the steps of the county courthouse here in Public Square.
Ignore the intolerance. We know why we're here.
They've put together a petition urging county leaders to listen to their concerns.
The size of the building means something. It is a very large building, and it's supposed to have only 200 memberships, and I don't want anybody in there creating something that can be used to attack us.
However, not everyone in this community agrees with their stance. A counter-demonstration put together by Middle Tennesseans for religious freedom began at Public Square shortly after the mosque protest.
If we could talk together, we'd find we're very much alike.
The group says they want to raise awareness to the constitutional issues involved in preventing or hindering the construction of the Islamic Center.
I would like to see some sort of proof for these accusations, and then that could be a separate discussion. But there's been no actions on the side of the Islamic community to warrant accusations like that. So I think it's just a matter of not wanting to let others have the same rights that they have.
First Amendment!
Now, opponents claim to have 20,000 signatures of Rutherford County residents and plan on turning the petition over to the county mayor, but the site plans have already been approved by the zoning board. The mayor says there are no plans to revoke the permit. Get some perspective now from a Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization, the Council on American-Islamic Relations, CAIR. That's the largest in the country. Ibrahim Hooper is the communications director for that group, live for us in our D.C. bureau. Sir, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
I think you were able to hear that piece that was just airing there. If you can, sir, give me just some of your thoughts and reaction when you hear some of the things that you do hear and the concerns you hear from people who are talking about, you heard a guy say, once they build a mosque, that means they've conquered America. It's going to be a training center. Just what is just your reaction when you hear things like that?
Well, unfortunately, we're seeing it all over the country. We're seeing it in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in Staten Island. Just this morning, I saw an article about opposition to a mosque in California. We've seen it in Illinois, and there's other mosques in Tennessee that are facing similar opposition. What we're seeing is that some people are trying to exploit and promote Islamophobia in our country by opposing these ordinary expansions of mosques or building of mosques. It's just routine for a growing religious minority in our country. And they've actually put out step-by-step guides on how to oppose a mosque when it comes to your area. So it's very disturbing.
No.
And we're seeing politicians now trying to use these kinds of issues to pander to their base, saying, look, I'm more opposed to this than the next person, so vote for me.
Mr. Hooper, let me ask you, and you mentioned one in California, and we just showed the piece up from the one in Murfreesboro. But let's take the one at Ground Zero right now, or just a few blocks from Ground Zero. Can you understand?
Well, that's the thing. It's portrayed as the Ground Zero mega mosque. It's not at Ground Zero, and it's not a mosque. It's a cultural center that happens to have a prayer space in it.
Now, it's a cultural center that does have plans now, as far as certainly our reporting here at CNN and all of my reading is that, yes, a cultural center that will have several things in it, one of those things being a mosque.
Including a prayer space, yes.
Including a prayer space. Well, and again, we can go back and forth with the semantics there, but a lot of people hear it, and it's been reported as, yes, a mosque, but it's a few blocks away, at least from Ground Zero. Do you understand why some people would be a little more sensitive to it being there versus in a Murfreesboro or a California? That there's a little sensitivity still with 9/11, that people have a little more concern there.
Yeah. Believe me, wherever it is, mosques are facing the same opposition. The Muslim bashers who are opposed to the mosque in Manhattan are just exploiting the natural sensitivities of the 9/11 families and our national revulsion against the 9/11 attacks to go after that particular mosque. In other areas, they use other things to go after it, whether it's the Muslims trying to take over America or some such nonsense
Mr. Hooper,
like that.
On a point you just made there, do you find a difference? Because you said some of the leaders there are taking advantage or people that are speaking out, taking advantage of the natural sensitivities of 9/11 families. Forget the people who are speaking out and yelling and screaming. Just on the point you made about the natural sensitivities, can you understand some of the families and even the New Yorkers themselves have more of a natural sensitivity to hear that a mosque is going up so close to the World Trade Center?
Well, it was interesting. They did a poll of the New York area as to whether people think that cultural center there would be a good idea. If they took the overall poll, it was negative. But if they took out just the people in Manhattan, the majority of people in Manhattan said, sure, why not? So I think, obviously, we're extremely sensitive to the 9/11 issue, but this is America. People have the right to buy property, to build houses of worship, to pray and do these things as they see fit, despite what this cottage industry of Muslim bashers would have.
Now, Mr. Hooper, something else has cropped up, and you talked about some members of Congress. They have spoken out, including Representative Peter King, saying that we need to know more about where the funding for this particular center is coming from. Yes,
Representative
he's one. There are several
has
others.
A long history of Muslim bashing.
I just named one. I just named one guy, and he wouldn't say he's a Muslim basher. But
Lazio.
But Lazio is another as well.
Yeah.
But
and
those
again,
are two leaders.
What they're trying to do is score cheap political points on the backs of American Muslims.
Mr. Hooper, let me ask you, though. Do you believe New Yorkers, Americans, should know where the funding for this mosque near Ground Zero is coming from?
As long as the funding for every church, every synagogue, every mosque, every Hindu temple, everything, if everybody is investigated equally, fine.
So is that a no?
But why single out one religious minority, one project, in an attempt to smear them and to block what is being actually promoted as an interfaith, intercultural center for mutual understanding? I don't know why they're against that.
So again, that's a no, I take it. They shouldn't have to because you say the others don't have to and aren't investigated as well.
If there's some evidence of wrongdoing, of course, but I've seen no evidence of wrongdoing other than it's sponsored by Muslims.
All right, well, last thing here, sir. Do you have any concern that this center itself at Ground Zero could, because of all the attention now, become a target for people?
Well, when you create enough fear and hysteria, that's always a possibility. But I think you know, the people of New York and the people of America are sensible enough to look beyond the kind of fear-mongering that we're seeing from the ones who are in opposition to this.
And you certainly do, Mr. Hooper, see another segment of people who are certainly in favor of and say this is exactly the thing we should be doing.
The majority of
Ground
New
Zero.
Yorkers.
A lot of people do say that. Mr. Hooper, we absolutely appreciate you coming on. We're going to hope to have you back as many, you know, there's so many other stories to talk about. We talked about New York,
Always
Murfreesboro,
something,
and California. Always something. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But we appreciate having you, and you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.